Let's talk about what sold on Poshmark, eBay, and Depop this week. So my name is Monica of Millie and Monica, and I'm a full-time clothing reseller on all of those platforms. So if you're interested in reselling related content, selling clothing online, and of course making money online, please consider subscribing to this channel and of course giving this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. That truly helps me out here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'll be going over my top sales from those three platforms. And to begin with, we're actually going to talk a little bit about Depop because that is my newest platform. I've mentioned in my last few videos that I am using Vendoo to cross-list my items from Poshmark, that's my main platform, into eBay and now Depop. And I'm mostly just cross-listing my vintage items. That's what I'm starting with. And I'm really excited to see how this new platform is going to kind of help me grow my business, because that's always the ultimate goal, is to have growth. But for me, it's also about getting more eyes and more attention on certain and specific items, such as vintage, which can be a little bit trickier to sell. And so before we dive into actually what sold, because I know you're really curious, I do want to talk a little bit about why I chose Depop over Etsy. Okay, so just a little disclaimer. I'm not saying that I'm never going to list on Etsy. There may be a time where I decide that I do want to sell on Etsy, but for right now, I kind of wanted to make sure that I'm not overloading myself by adding two platforms. I'm just going to add one at a time, and I chose to go with Depop over Etsy, and there's a reason for that. My vintage, I guess, or the vintage that I find most of is the 80s, 90s, and Y2K styles. So kind of grunge, grandpa style sweaters, high-waisted mom jeans, items like that is kind of what I'm on the lookout for. Every once in a while, don't get me wrong, I love to pick up the 60s and the 70s, or even the 40s and 50s if I can find it. It is incredibly rare if I find anything older than that. So for me, it makes the most sense to start selling on Depop because the buyers there are really looking for the 80s, 90s, and Y2K styles. The other benefit for me of listing on Depop is if I decide like, hey, I'm really liking this platform, but I want to list more than just my vintage, I can list my modern clothing there. Etsy, I cannot. And because I'm not a maker, I'm not selling like homemade goods, stuff like that, I am choosing to kind of stay away from Etsy because it is a very niche market, and Depop kind of has more opportunity for me to continue growing that platform if I choose to kind of branch out into the modern as well. So that's why I'm choosing Depop first. And to be honest, I'm finding it pretty simple and pretty easy. And actually, before we dive in again to what sold, I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to show you what it looks like to actually cross list from Poshmark to Depop because it's really simple. I'll spend a couple minutes on that. And then I want to show you my Depop page and kind of what it looks like because I think it's really fun and I'm loving the opportunity to curate this little niche vintage market that I have. So I'm excited to share that with you. Okay, so here we are on my Vendoo account, and you can see this bold number here of my active listing. This is actually just more so the number of items that I've actually cross-list and imported into Vendoo, which is incredible. So I truly do use this platform and have used it a lot. So, of course, I do not have all these items active and for sale. What this means is these are just the items that I've imported and have cross-listed. There is a new feature now where you can actually see the amount of items you've sold. I have not started using that new feature, and once I do, I'll definitely update you and just kind of show you how that's working, but I'm not quite there yet. So anyway, if you are thinking about Vendoo, I would highly suggest, maybe looking into being able to track what you've sold, and that might be a really good tool for you. Anyway, let's actually look at how to list on Depop. So you can see I have quite a few items here that show they're listed on eBay, Poshmark, and Depop, and I'm going to show you this item here, which of course I haven't cross-listed to eBay yet, but I will. For this video, I'm just going to cross-list over to Depop. This mustard yellow sweater is a modern piece, so I'm not going to cross-list this to Depop. I'm just going to let it be on eBay and Poshmark for now. In the future, I might consider listing more modern pieces on Depop, but for right now, I'm just sticking to my vintage niche. And let's take a look at this here sweater. So before we go to Depop, I'm actually going to copy this title, and you'll see why in just a moment. So once we get over to Depop, there is no place to add a title, which kind of drives me crazy. So in my titles, I generally add some information that I might not add in the description box over on Poshmark or eBay. So I try to copy over a title, and usually I copy it from eBay because I have more information or more characters allowed in my eBay title. But since I haven't done that yet, this is just kind of what it is. And then what's interesting about Depop is that you're only allowed 4 photos. Now, if I go ahead and delete these photos right now, I won't be able to use them on eBay. Like once they're deleted, they're deleted. So I'm actually not going to delete these photos. Depop will let me list this item, and I'll just take the first 4. I'm gonna see if I can rearrange. Yes, I can actually rearrange because I want to make sure this tag is allowed or seen, I should say. And I also want to have the full back view. And I also want a full front view. So let's move that there. I'm just kind of moving them around. So that works out. Now these will be my first 4 photos. So I like that. Adding the tags in is probably what takes me the most time for Depop. What I love about eBay is just drop downs and it goes very quickly. But this is a vintage cardigan. It's kind of like 90s vintage, 80s vintage, cottage core. I feel like this kind of fits in. And grandma sweater. So I think those will be my 5 tags. And for most vintage items, I just say it's used in good condition, it's vintage, and it's probably kind of loungewear. It's definitely cute, and let's just go with funky. It's a cardigan. The thing about their categories is they are fairly limited in their categories. The size is a size small. And then I do use my own shipping, so I will charge $8 shipping. Worldwide shipping, you can put a price in there, or you can just leave it blank as if it's optional. Maybe you don't use the worldwide shipping. And then I'm definitely going to lower the price. So Depop takes a lower fee. It's 10%. There are PayPal fees associated. But because there's no offer feature on Depop, I do lower the prices a bit just because I want people to be able to buy them full price, since the offering is a little bit more difficult on Depop. And then I'm just going to go ahead and list. That simple. So I really didn't know anything about Depop, and Vendoo has made listing on this platform so easy. And so now when I go to eBay, you can see that all my photos are still here. So I'm not going to fully show you how I go to eBay. I do have another standalone video where I walk through how I list on eBay. But the most important thing for me is not losing these extra photos. That's so great about Poshmark and eBay, is they allow more photos. With Depop, you can't do it here, but on the app you can upload a short video, so that's also an option if you need more detail. Okay, but now let's talk a little bit more about shipping, because I use my own shipping, but if you're very concerned about shipping with Depop, you can ship with Depop, and I believe they have some sort of deal, but I don't actually know much about it because I am choosing to do my own shipping. I've heard that can be kind of the best, kind of like Mercari. If you're a Mercari seller, you know that if you ship with Mercari, it's usually a little bit more expensive, and so if you ship on your own, you can get better deals that way. And so I do use Pirate Ship, so we'll go over to Pirate Ship here now. This is Pirate Ship. If you've never seen it before, you can put in the buyer's name and their address and then what kind of packaging you want to use. Let's go take a quick look at my actual Depop page and what that is looking like, because it's really kind of fun. Okay, so here we are on my Depop account, and what I'm loving about Depop is how I can curate this very niche look and market. So the top here, these are the last like 10 items that I have listed, and that's just been today here. So what I'm going to do is actually scroll down a little bit, and I'm organizing my closet by kind of color scheme, and this has been really fun. Something I used to do on Poshmark before I had 1,200 listings and just did not have the time or energy to color organize them, but that's what I've been doing here on Depop because I only have just under 150 items listed. And so I'm having a lot of fun curating this look. Now, what I wanted to show you is that here on the bottom, it looks like I've sold a ton of stuff. Not true. So what I'm doing is when items sell, I'm marking them as sold, which is what you can do when you're on a listing. You can actually just mark it as sold. There's just a little tab where you can edit it, and then somewhere here, it's a little bit different on the actual app, you can mark it as sold. So what I'm doing when an item sells is marking them as sold and leaving them on here. Doing that for a few different reasons. So first reason is, for instance, if it sells on eBay and the buyer doesn't pay and I have to wait, 5 or 6 days to relist the item, I can easily come back into Depop and just remark it for sale. It's super easy instead of having to go in and relist it. A second reason is because I have a new shop here on Depop, I want to establish myself as someone who is selling items. My items are available on multiple other marketplaces for sale, and I want to show people that even though I have a new Depop shop, I'm still selling items. And so I'm kind of doing it just to establish the shop and show that there is a market for the items that I'm selling. I've only had 2 sales, a total of 3 items sell, which I'll be going over here in just a couple minutes. And you'll actually see what items have sold, but a majority of these items sold on eBay or Poshmark, and they just get moved to the bottom. So hopefully that makes sense. It might be something, just a tip or trick that helps you when you start to establish your own Depop shop. But for now, I'm just having kind of fun establishing and setting up this new marketplace. If you have not started using Vendoo to help you cross-list and grow your business onto other platforms, I'm not quite sure what you're waiting for. It could not be more easier than this. And if you want to get started, you can definitely use my affiliate link, which is down below. It will be linked in the description box, which will take 25% off your first month. And if you want to know a little bit more, like I said, I do have a standalone video on kind of an overview of Vendoo. Of course, a few things have been changed and upgraded since then, but I'll also link that down below as well. So now let's dive into what actually sold this past week on these different platforms. I'm just going to go over my top selling items to give you kind of the best idea of what's selling for those higher prices that could bring you the most profit when you're looking to resell. Keep in mind that I am a volume seller and that I do sell a variety of items at a variety of prices, and I actually do sell a lot of items even in between the $10 and $15 range, especially on eBay because they take less fees, and so I don't mind selling lower priced items as well. But for the sake of this video and time's sake, I am just going to be sharing the top selling items. And I will just say these are the sales from February 8th through February 14th of 2021. And I sold just under $1,300 worth of items, and I had a total of 59 sales. So my average sales price was around $23, which is pretty good. I'm not going to complain about that because, like I said, I do sell some items at lower prices, especially on eBay, especially when I'm trying to move older inventory. I don't mind letting things go. Keep in mind for this video that this is gross numbers. This does not include the fees that are associated with these different platforms, and each platform does have different fees, so it does get to be a lot to break down for these videos, and it doesn't include taxes. I do a lot of my sourcing at the Goodwill outlet or the Goodwill bins, and which is where you pay by the pound. So my cost of goods is incredibly low. And if I do pay up for something in these videos, I'll try to let you know if I remember that, because there are times when I still will pay up for items if I go to a regular thrift store. Okay, so let's start with Depop since that is what I was just showing you, and I'm excited to kind of start selling on there, obviously. So this first sale that I made last week was really exciting because it was a bundle. And I am offering free shipping on bundles. So this first item was a sale for $80, and this made up the bulk of the selling price for this bundle. So this was the 80s and 90s two-piece, or actually three-piece set that I showed in a recent, I think, video. It was three pieces because it had a matching belt. So it was a top, the trousers, and the belt. So it's kind of a cottagecore floral print, kind of a semi-crop top, and incredibly high-rise pants, a super fun set. And I was really excited that this sold so quickly because sometimes sets like this can take a while to move because it really does. They really do require the right buyer, someone who's really into that like kind of look and style. And then the second piece she bundled with was this vintage coral sailor top, kind of had the sailor nautical vibes going on, and it was also a semi-crop top. Super cute. I wish I could see how she was styling that. I think it'd be adorable with some high-waisted like white pants or something like that. So that was a sale. So those totaled $100. With Depop, they do take 10%. There's PayPal fees. And then because I offer free shipping on this, I did pay $8 in shipping. And then my second Depop sale for the week and my last Depop sale for the week, so I only had a couple sales there, was this 90s vintage men's grandpa sweater. And I did say it was like a unisex sweater. It could be worn men's or women's, and it was kind of a green, blue striped and oversized fit. And so that sold for $25, and the buyer paid shipping on that because it was not a bundle. So those were the Depop sales. And then let's move into eBay. So eBay, I did have some good sales at the beginning of the week, some higher priced items sold, and then it kind of trailed off. I did have a couple sales that I do not expect the buyers will pay for, which was kind of a bummer because they were some higher priced sales. But that just happens on eBay. It's part of the eBay game. Okay, so the first sale that I'm excited to share is this Y2K vintage gallery, was the brand gallery, and then it was this really long suede penny lane style jacket. It had the faux fur trim, and it was just stunning. It was incredibly heavy though, and so on eBay, when you have the heavier items, it does add up with shipping costs. So I had this marked around $175 because I did find some similar comps that ranged in that area. So I listed it on the high end. This was an item I paid up for. I did pay $20 for this on sale at a Savers sale. This sold for $125. I had it marked, I think, on eBay for $165, $175 on Poshmark. I had a lot of lower offers on this, like $85 offers, which would be fine, but I did pay $20 for this, and so I was looking to get as much as I could. I did accept the $125 after I'd received probably 3 or 4 lower offers. So I was happy to send this off for that $125, and the buyer did pay like $14 shipping for this item because it was close to 5 pounds. So next is this Prana women's large Nua tags color block 2-piece bikini. So this was a really interesting find because it was from the bins, and there was like all these different swim pieces, and of course, like when they're 2 pieces, they get separated, and so to find both pieces was great. And the top was actually Nua tags, the bottom was not, but they did go together. The coloring was perfect. And so this sold actually for $32.49 on sale. So it sold full price on sale. I did have it marked, I think, at $50 on Poshmark, and had quite a bit of interest on both eBay and Poshmark. And I should mention that buyer pays shipping on all orders on eBay. Next was this 70s vintage men's large insulated puffer snowsuit. And so this snowsuit, again, was one of those heavier items. I did find this at the bins though, so I didn't pay too much for this, but because of the weight, you pay by the pound at the bins, the weight of this probably added up to probably $6 or $7 at the bins. And then It sold for $50 on eBay. I think had it listed around $65 on eBay, and so I accepted that $50 offer, and the buyer paid $11.75 in shipping. Next is this pair of Kalia white activewear shorts. This is the first time I think I've ever sold Kalia, actually, and I did find these at the bins as well. They were in perfect condition, and they had a lot of different like pockets and sections, and so they're just like a running short and had the built-in underwear. They sold full price for $24.99, and I think I received a few other lower offers on these as well, and that just didn't work out. Next, this next sale was actually kind of a frustrating sale. So this 70s vintage women's like prom or bridesmaid dress was a really fun find, but it was incredibly tiny, like teeny tiny. It would not zip up the mannequin at all. It would probably fit best an extra small or extra small, depending on bust size. It sold for $30 on eBay. However, after it sold, the buyer wanted like all this extra photos to send to her seamstress because she was going to cut the dress up for her daughter, and I had already sent her more photos like previously to her buying it or sending me the offer. And so she, like, it was just a really frustrating situation because I'd already sent her more close-ups, and then she came back a couple days later, she still hadn't paid for it, and she sent me photos of a completely different fabric and wanted more close-up photos, and I was just confused, like straight up confused, because it obviously, the photo she sent me was not of my item, and I was like, I don't know where this fabric is coming from. Like, you sent me an offer, I accepted, you basically went into a contract with eBay saying you're going to pay for this item, which obviously, again, people do this all the time, but it was just frustrating, especially because like I love vintage pieces and I want to see them have a second life, but I don't necessarily want to see them cut up. But the sale did go through. She did end up paying for it after a like item case had already been open for her not paying for it. So it did get sent out. It was teeny tiny, so you know, maybe it'll be best that it does get remade into something else because it was so small. But anyway, that was kind of the backstory on this. Whether or not you wanted to know, I don't know. But then we're going to move on to Poshmark sales. And Poshmark, I don't know. I have a love-hate with Poshmark, and maybe someday I'll make a video on that. But Poshmark is oftentimes frustrating for me, and I'm sure it's frustrating for you as well, but I don't even know where I was going to go with that. But I think we all know our frustrations with Poshmark. Every time I shared my closet, like I just wasn't getting any feedback, or I wasn't getting any response from sharing those items. And so if you sell on Poshmark, you know you need to share your items, you need to keep your closet updated. And there just was no response to sharing my closet, and that was just getting incredibly frustrating. And so if you're feeling the lack of engagement on Poshmark, I feel you 100%. But I did have a few good sales that still came out of last week. And so this first one is actually a blazer that I've had for myself, and I finally just decided, you know, I'm not wearing this item. I might as well let it go. And it was this 90s Pendleton vintage blazer in this beautiful blue plaid, and it had a velvet collar and velvet buttons and pocket trim as well. Absolutely gorgeous. It sold for $40, and I was really happy with this sale just because I think I probably paid around $8 for it at the thrift store when I did originally buy it, and it was hard to let go, so I'm glad that it at least sold for a decent amount and I still made a good profit. Next is another sweater that I was absolutely in love with, and it was this like 80s, 90s style vintage Southwest fringe sweater. It was super unique and interesting. I don't think I've ever found a sweater quite like this with the real like suede leather trim on there. It was really fun, and it sold for $35. Next was actually an item that I had picked up and had only listed for a couple days, and it sold. It was this pair of Todds, and they were these driving loafers, orange suede, and they did have a bit of wear. So normally with Todds, you can get probably more, quite a bit more, at least double, I would say, based on comps. But I did sell these for $38 because they had quite a bit of wear on the toes as far as like suede wear, and it just wasn't worth me spending a whole lot of time trying to buff that out or make it look better. So I just sold them as they were, and I'll try to show a photo of the wear on the toes. But I was still happy with that $38 price because I only paid a couple dollars for these. Next was this pair of 1 teaspoon high-rise distressed shorts. Now, I've heard so much about 1 teaspoon. I think I found these last fall at the bins. It didn't, have a lot invested in them, but they were just sitting. They had a lot of interest, a lot of questions, but no one was taking a chance on these. And I think I had them listed around $45 or $50, and someone did accept a $30 offer with the discounted shipping on these. Finally, I was kind of just getting sick of all the questions and people not understanding measurements and stuff like that. So I'm happy to see them go off. Next was another item that I really had only listed for a couple days, and again, picked up for a couple dollars. This is a pair of Paige Anthropologie jeans. They were the Nelly high-rise cropped leg pants, and kind of a, not like a wide leg, but kind of a cropped straight leg, I guess you could say. So super cute. They had some really good comps, and I was excited about them. They were the size 29, if I didn't already say that, and they sold for $50 after only a couple days of being listed. Paige for me is a brand that's very hit or miss, and I definitely think it was the style, and it's sometimes sold by Anthropologie, so this wasn't Anthropologie style that was sold by Anthropologie anyways, so I think maybe that's what helped this pair specifically. And then the last sale that I'll be talking about is this pair of aerosols. They're ankle booties. They were the heel rest black leather ankle boot, and they had this like Sherpa top on them. Super cute. I actually have a very similar pair myself in brown that I really like. And so with winter kind of hopefully coming to an end, I am happy to move some boots. So that was a good sale for $30. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. So those were my top selling items from this past week, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what items were selling for me. And anyway, thank you so much for being here, and as always, I'll see you next time.